On the wall behind me, a video played on a loop, showing my boyfriend, Ethan Carter, down on one knee, holding a vibrant red rose. The girl standing in front of him was his childhood sweetheart, Sophia Lane. At that moment, he was gently slipping an engagement ring, the one I had carefully chosen, onto her ring finger. My entire body went cold, my voice trembling as I asked him why. He didn't even look at me, brushing my hand away with disgust. I just wanted Sophia to experience what it's like to be proposed to. "Don't be so petty," he said. "We've known each other for 10 years. If there were feelings, do you really think you'd have had a chance to come between us?" I raised my hand to slap him, but he pushed me back forcefully. I stumbled backward, my back slamming into the sharp edge of a nearby table. In that moment, all the hopes in my heart shattered into dust. "Ethan, you pushed me?" I gasped, pain searing through me as my vision blurred. I stared in disbelief at Ethan and Sophia, unable to process what was happening. Before I could react, a glass of ice-cold champagne was splashed over my head. The stinging liquid and ice cubes poured down my neck, soaking my expensive evening gown. I looked utterly pathetic. I raised my hands to shield my head, but the ice still slipped under my collar, scraping my skin and leaving bloody scratches. If I hadn't dodged in time, that glass would have hit my face. It was Sophia who had thrown the champagne. "You weren't watching where you were going. Who's to blame for your fall?" she sneered. Ethan looked down at me from above, his voice dripping with contempt. "Stop playing these games and acting pitiful. Is this fun for you?" I suppressed the pain in my back, struggling to stand, but my right leg gave out completely. Tears welled up uncontrollably as I looked at the man who, in 3 days, was supposed to be engaged to me. All I felt was bitter irony. He had said he wanted to show me the venue he'd meticulously prepared for our engagement ceremony. I had left work early, wearing the dress he liked best, only to walk into this cruel charade. On the large screen, Ethan was gazing at Sophia with tender affection. The girl he'd grown up with. Even more laughable, they were wearing the couple's rings meant for him and me. "Ethan, don't scold her anymore," Sophia said, tucking herself behind him, her eyes gleaming with triumph, but her voice feigning pity. Ethan immediately wrapped an arm around her, gently patting her head. "Don't worry, Sophia. She's just trying to get sympathy. She's not even hurt." I clenched my fists, nails digging into my palms, trying to stay calm amid their mocking laughter. Leaning against the wall, I limped out. "See? I told you she was faking it." Ethan's voice followed me, laced with the smugness of a victor. I gritted my teeth and returned home, collapsing onto the sofa. I noticed a large bruise swelling on my back. As I reached for some ointment, the door lock clicked. Ethan walked in with Sophia. Seeing the messy sofa and the ice pack on the floor, he frowned. "Claire, what's with the tantrum now?" "Tantrum?" I gripped my phone, letting out a cold laugh. "Wasn't today's ugly scene your doing, and you're blaming me for causing trouble?" He stepped inside, his polished shoes crushing the rose petals scattered on the floor. My heart twisted as I looked at the wine-stained petals. He'd clearly forgotten our anniversary, yet he'd trampled over everything I'd carefully prepared. Seeing my silence, Ethan sneered. "Playing the victim again? Sophia even asked me to bring you a cake, and this is how you act? If you're so bored, clean up those flowers. They're just attracting flies." I bit my lip, nails nearly breaking the skin of my palms. I couldn't fathom how the man who was once so gentle had become so detestable. The old Ethan wasn't like this. We met in the library, staying up countless nights studying together. Back then, he'd quietly leave warm milk on my desk, remembering the books I casually mentioned. and even noting my pollen allergy in his phone. I knew he had a childhood friend named Sophia Lane. In college, they were the golden couple everyone envied. But when Sophia went abroad for an exchange program, their relationship cooled and ended. So when did things between Ethan and me start to rot? It began 6 months ago when Sophia returned. One coy glance from her was enough to make Ethan discard all his promises. Seeing the string of likes he left on her social media posts, I realized my years of waiting had become a joke. I couldn't bear facing them anymore and turned to head to my room. But Ethan grabbed my wrist. "Claire, what's with that attitude? Smirking and mocking. Who are you performing for?" "Ethan, don't be mad," Sophia said, clinging to him, her eyes fixed on the jade bracelet on my wrist. "That bracelet looks unique. Can I borrow it?" She reached to take it off. A chill ran down my spine, and I yanked her hand away. "Stay away! Who gave you the right to touch someone else's things? Didn't your parents teach you manners?" Sophia's eyes welled up instantly, tears brimming. Ethan stepped in front of her, shielding her. "Claire, do you have to be so vicious? It's just a cheap bracelet. Let her have it. I'll buy you a better one." My body trembled with rage. This bracelet was a family heirloom from my grandmother, passed down before she died. Yet he dismissed it so callously. "A cheap bracelet, Ethan? Do you know what it means to me? Even if you sold your entire company, you couldn't buy the love it represents." "What are you implying? That I can't afford a bracelet?" Ethan snapped, losing control. He reached to snatch it. Instinctively, I grabbed the scissors on the table, their blade glinting coldly. "Ethan! Claire!" Ethan clutched his arm where I'd accidentally sliced a long cut, staring at me in disbelief. Sophia, feigning panic, cried and insisted on calling an ambulance. Ethan shoved her aside, glaring at my trembling hand still holding the scissors. Furious, he slammed the door and left. I sank to the floor in the chaotic room, staring at the blood on the scissors. In that moment, I recalled the gentle look in his eyes years ago when he knelt before me, promising to protect me forever. Tears streamed down my face, falling onto the blood-stained rose petals and broken vows that could never be reclaimed. Cold sweat soaked my back, my chest tight, temples throbbing, each breath painful. But the dull ache in my heart was far worse than my physical exhaustion. I couldn't believe Ethan, the man who once cherished me, had become so unrecognizable. Was all his past tenderness just a facade? Was the love I believed in for years just a carefully orchestrated lie? I still remembered our early days after college, renting a damp, cramped apartment, rationing instant noodles to save money. In our toughest times, we shared a cold, steamed bun and tap water. Yet we could still laugh with joy. On my birthday, he pulled out a small, imperfect cake like a magician, the frosting uneven and the base slightly sunken. Under the candlelight, his eyes shone brighter than the stars. "I'm sorry, Claire, for making you suffer with me. I'll give you the best life one day," he said, his voice full of guilt and determination. I stood on tiptoe, wiping the sweat from his forehead, smiling as I blew out the candles, silently wishing we'd hold hands for life. Now, life was better, but he was no longer that young man. I struggled to my feet and began packing. I realized how little I truly owned. Just one suitcase held all my clothes and personal items. I left behind every gift he'd given me, once filled with sweet memories, now only mocking me. Dragging my suitcase, I left the home we once called ours and took a taxi to my childhood house. Pushing open the rusty iron gate, Dust floated in the fading sunlight. For a moment, I saw my dad in his apron, cooking in the kitchen, turning to smile at me. But reality quickly shattered that illusion. I curled up on the cold floor, my suppressed sobs echoing in the empty room. After what felt like an eternity, my phone rang, Ethan's name flashing on the screen. I answered, and his furious voice roared through. "Claire, you're still not home? You didn't even clean up the broken vase. What's wrong with you?" In the darkness, I gave a bitter smile, tears streaming down. He hadn't even noticed I'd left, hadn't seen me walk away covered in wounds. His first reaction was to blame me for not cleaning. "Ethan," I cut him off, my voice eerily calm. "We're done." Without waiting for his response, I hung up and blocked the man who'd consumed my entire youth. In that moment, I felt a weight lift. The tangled emotions I thought I'd never unravel dissolved instantly. I let out a long breath, stepping onto the balcony, gently rolling my stiff neck. I sank into a chair, expecting to drown in pain and regret. But instead, a strange calm washed over me. In a fleeting moment, I saw my teenage self, laughing and running across the school courtyard, my memories vibrant, as if the future still held endless hope. But the shrill doorbell shattered the peace. A wave of exhaustion hit me. I buried my face in my hands, trying to ignore the noise, but the ringing grew relentless, draining my last shred of patience. Ethan, who had a spare key, let himself in after getting no response. He stormed in, yelling, "Claire, how long are you going to keep this up? We're about to get engaged. Stop ruining everything. Do you know I've been looking for you all day?" His voice made my head throb. I sat up slowly, rubbing my aching temples, and met his gaze. My eyes caught a long strand of hair on his jacket, obviously not mine. "Looking for me all day?" I said, almost laughing at the absurdity. I didn't bother arguing, just repeated coldly, "Ethan, we're over." At that moment, Sophia's voice came from outside, panting and whining. God, this apartment building is exhausting. No elevator? She waltzed in, complaining, then threw herself at Ethan like a clingy cat. I watched the scene, finding it almost comical. Sophia, noticing me, quickly stepped away from Ethan, smoothing her hair and feigning composure. I didn't hold back. "Sophia, why keep pretending? You slept with him last night, and now you're acting innocent?" My words hit her like a slap. Tears welled up, and she nearly collapsed, stammering. "No, Claire, nothing happened last night. I drank too much. I'm sorry." "Sophia, this has nothing to do with you," Ethan said, pulling her to her feet and glaring at me. "Claire, don't go too far. Sophia came to apologize and you're making a scene? Don't forget we're getting engaged soon." "Ethan, don't be mad. It's my fault," Sophia whimpered, clinging to him pathetically. My stomach churned watching their display. I stood abruptly, pointing at the door. "Get out. Stop performing this disgusting act in front of me. Get out of my house." Ethan pointed at me, too angry to speak, then wrapped his arm around the sobbing Sophia and stormed out, not before throwing a venomous threat. "Claire, you're kicking me out? Fine, let's see how you survive without me. You'll come begging one day." I watched them leave, laughing at the absurdity. Ethan thought I'd beg him? What a delusion. How much had I indulged him to make him like this? His success today? Wasn't it because I'd silently carried everything behind him? In our darkest times, when he was starting his company, I was reeling from the sudden loss of my parents. That devastating blow nearly broke me. I'd considered giving up entirely, but Ethan stayed by my side, pulling me from the abyss. At the same time, his business faced countless obstacles. By day, he tackled chaos at work. By night, he tried to cheer me up, keeping me from despair. Those days of leaning on each other lasted a long time. When I finally pulled myself together, the first thing I did was invest my parents' entire inheritance, the only legacy I had, into Ethan's company. That money gave him his first big break. He was so grateful, knowing I'd bet my whole life on him. He swore he'd love me forever. With his first profits, he bought the house we lived in, calling it our future home, promising a grand, romantic wedding. I thought we'd walk hand in hand forever. But now, Ethan had the audacity to say I'd be nothing without him, that I'd beg him to take me back. His arrogance made it seem like he held my life in his hands. Once I calmed down, I called a lawyer I'd worked with on my family's estate. The steady voice of Attorney Zhang answered, "Hello, Claire?" The next day, Ethan showed up again. This time, he wasn't as aggressive, knocking softly and waiting. When I opened the door, he forced a smile and pulled out a bouquet of flowers. "Claire, I was wrong yesterday. I was too stressed about the engagement. Can you forgive me?" His half-hearted apology left me unmoved. I took the flowers and tossed them straight into the trash. "Too late to regret now, Ethan." He froze, then tried to salvage it. "Claire, I messed up. Tell me how I can make it up to you." I didn't want to waste words. "It's not just about yesterday, Ethan. The moment you developed feelings for Sophia, you betrayed me. What were all these years of our relationship to you?" "It's not about Sophia," he denied reflexively. I pulled out a stack of documents from behind my back and threw them at him. He caught them, his face paling as he read. It was a contract for withdrawing my investment, the terms clear and indisputable. Watching him tremble as he held the papers, I felt a sudden lightness. I should thank him. If he hadn't been so eager to prove his loyalty back then, swearing never to betray me, if he hadn't insisted on signing the share transfer agreement, I might not have been able to reclaim my investment now. The love we had was real, but so was his betrayal. I crossed my arms, staring at him coldly. "As an investor in your company, I demand you transfer the shares back according to my investment ratio." "Claire, do you know what that means?" Ethan's voice shook, his face full of disbelief. "I know," I said with a cold smile. "I know exactly what it means." Withdrawing my shares would cripple his company, but I wanted him to feel the pain of losing something precious. Ethan, unwilling to accept it, stammered, "But we're getting engaged." Slap. I didn't hesitate, delivering a sharp slap across his face. Every time he mentioned the engagement, nausea rose in me. The word was like a thorn in my heart. Closing my eyes, I saw them kissing in a hotel. All our sweet memories now turned to bitter hatred. Seeing my resolve, Ethan's throat bobbed. Then, with a thud, he dropped to his knees on the cold marble floor. "Claire, listen to me. Sophia and I were just filming a vintage-themed video. The kiss was scripted. You have to believe me." He clutched my skirt, fingers trembling. "She helped me with something big in school. I was just repaying a debt." I looked at his disheveled hair, remembering years ago when he knelt outside a hospital corridor, holding my hand, vowing to care for me forever. Yet now, his knees bent so easily for another woman. His promises were now cheap. "I can delete all the videos and never contact her again," he added, seeing my silence. "Our families know about the engagement. If you back out, how will my parents save face?" That sentence chilled me to the bone. So, to him, this engagement was just about saving face. I took a deep breath, suppressing my emotions. "Fine, I'll be there." His eyes lit up with hope. "So, we'll hold off on the investment talk?" I stepped back, avoiding his reaching hand. Get out. I'll see you there. After he left, I quietly opened a drawer and pulled out a USB drive. It contained evidence gathered by a private investigator, video of Ethan and Sophia's intimate moments in a hotel, along with bank statements showing he'd secretly transferred company assets. My fingers brushed the cold metal, and I looked at my reflection, a faint smirk on my lips. This drama was nearing its climax. At the engagement party, I walked into the banquet hall in a simple white blouse and jeans, a stark contrast to the expected bride-to-be attire. Under the glittering chandelier, Sophia stood beside Ethan in a champagne-colored silk dress. Seeing me, she covered her mouth, giggling. "Claire, why are you dressed like that for an engagement?" I ignored her, striding to the stage and taking the remote from the AV technician. Ethan's face went pale. "Claire, what are you doing?" The large screen flickered on. The first few seconds showed our beachside engagement photos. Then, it switched to hotel surveillance footage of Ethan and Sophia kissing passionately. The room erupted in gasps and whispers. When the screen showed Ethan handing Sophia the company seal, a furious bang came from the back, Ethan's father slamming the table. Sophia collapsed to the floor, her face drained of color. Ethan staggered, trying to explain, but his father stormed the stage and slapped him to the ground. I watched the chaos unfold, finally allowing myself a smile. This farce was over. "Ethan, what did you think I was? A backup you could summon or dismiss at will? Right before our engagement, you took another woman abroad, posting lovey-dovey photos online to flaunt it." I gripped my phone, the screen displaying a picture of him and Sophia under the Eiffel Tower, each pixel like a knife to my eyes. The chandelier above swayed, its light fracturing into hazy shards. My phone slipped from my hand, shattering on the marble floor with a crisp crack, slicing through the dead silence. Ethan stood frozen, his knuckles white. Sophia, panicked, clung to his sleeve, her flawless makeup smudged by sweat. The guests' whispers grew louder, their words sharp as blades. "Shameless, treating a girl like that. I heard her family funded his company, and now that he's successful, he turns his back on her. Isn't Sophia that minor celebrity who got famous through shady deals? So brazen." Under the weight of judgmental stares, Sophia's face paled, and she stumbled out of the hall. Ethan lunged forward, grabbing my wrist. "Claire, haven't you done enough? You're humiliating me in front of everyone." "Humiliating you?" I laughed coldly, yanking my wrist free. "When you were cozying up to her abroad, did you think about my dignity?" "Ethan, the engagement is off. I'm withdrawing my investment. It ends here." I turned and walked away as the sound of breaking porcelain echoed behind me. My friends quickly restrained Ethan, their scolding filling the hall. I stepped out of the hotel, the click of my heels resolute, never looking back. That night, I deleted all contact with Ethan and Sophia, tossing the engagement ring into the trash. I thought the drama was over, but the next morning, the doorbell rang incessantly. Through the peephole, I saw Ethan holding a bouquet of red roses, his suit wrinkled, face bruised, voice hoarse. "Claire, I know I was wrong. It was just acting with Sophia. I've always loved you. This is that limited edition necklace you liked. Forgive me?" Through the door, I replied coldly, "Your apologies are too cheap, Ethan." As I moved to close the window, a commotion erupted downstairs. Sophia stood in a crowd, holding a microphone, live streaming. Comments flooded her phone screen. "Homewrecker." "Crying crocodile tears." "Classic soap opera drama." Under the morning sun, she sobbed into the camera. "I'm the real victim." Ethan said he hasn't loved Claire for a long time. The crowd's murmurs and flashing cameras felt like an invisible net tightening around me. As I considered how to respond, Sophia, like a madwoman, charged at me, her red-painted nails slashing through the air, nearly scratching my face. "Claire, where are you hiding Ethan? You ruined our engagement, and now what more do you want?" I realized Ethan was avoiding her too. Disgusted, I stepped back, but she pressed closer, her painted nails flailing. "Ethan has always loved me. You're the one who came between us. Why did you post that video to ruin us? Love doesn't have a first or last, only sincerity." It was laughable. She knew she was the mistress, yet acted so righteous. As she ranted, her knees buckled, and she collapsed onto the polished mall floor. Then, she lunged forward, grabbing my leg, her tear-streaked face like a victim's. "Please, let us be. He hasn't answered my calls. What did I do wrong?" Her sobs echoed through the spacious hall, drawing a crowd. People whipped out their phones, filming, as whispers turned judgmental. Girls these days have no shame, stealing boyfriends and acting superior. Kids today play dirty. Suddenly, a young woman with glasses pushed through, holding up her phone. "Wait, I know her. Isn't that Sophia Lane, the D-list celebrity who went viral for being a homewrecker?" The crowd's murmurs grew louder. Sophia frantically checked her phone, where a trending headline read, "Fiancé exposes cheating at engagement." The video had over 10 million views, with comments mocking her. She knew she was the mistress and still dove in. Deserves it. The tide turned swiftly, and Sophia's face turned ashen. She screamed, "It's a setup! Claire hired trolls to smear me!" She jumped up, hair disheveled, glaring at me. "You just want Ethan's company to go bankrupt, you hypocritical witch." I found it amusing. She didn't know I'd already involved a lawyer, and Ethan was still playing the big shot to keep his childhood sweetheart. I leaned in, smirking. "You're right. I do want his company to fail. But what does that have to do with you? I'm his fiancée. You're just the mistress." Sophia's face flushed with rage. "What right do you have to ruin his company? Those videos are just slander. A company's success depends on management. Who are you to interfere?" I smiled lazily, my gaze dripping with disdain, watching her arrogance turn to fear. "You don't know? 3 months ago, over half of Ethan's company shares were transferred to my name." "What? You're joking!" Sophia's face froze. Before she could say more, the automatic doors burst open. Ethan, drenched in sweat, face ghostly white, rushed in. "Sophia, come with me!" He grabbed her arm, clearly scared of something being exposed. But Sophia yanked free, screaming, "What did Claire mean?" Ethan gave a strained smile, worse than crying. "Claire, I'm sorry. She's not herself. Don't take it to heart." He tried to drag Sophia away, looking like a cornered animal. "Wait, what are you hiding?" Sophia's sharp nails left 3 red scratches on his wrist. Ethan froze, sweating, unable to speak. I twirled my phone, my gaze cutting through Sophia's flushed face. "You really don't know? 65% of Carter Enterprises is now in my name. Canceling the engagement means he pays a massive breach of contract fee and compensation." "No way!" Sophia stumbled back, her heels screeching on the floor. "He said he built the company himself, promised me a private jet, swore he'd make me a top star." Her voice choked, eyes locked on Ethan's pale face. Her perfect makeup couldn't hide her distorted expression. "You're just a leech." She laughed maniacally, jabbing a red-painted finger into his chest. "I slept with you for 3 months and helped you create that scandal." "Don't lie," Ethan roared, but I cut him off calmly. "Last week, the board approved transferring his management contract to me." Sophia's smile froze. She slapped him hard, leaving a red handprint on his cheek, then stormed off in her 10-inch heels, spitting, "Disgusting!" Ethan watched her go, then turned to me, eyes filled with desperation. "Claire, I was just confused. Give me another chance." I held up 3 fingers, shaking them. 3 days. My lawyer will bring the papers." I turned toward the elevator. Behind me, glass shattered, and security shouted as Ethan growled like a beast. "Claire, don't push me! That's my company, my money." Ethan refused to sign the divorce papers, so I authorized my lawyer to file a lawsuit. The court quickly issued an order to freeze his assets, locking all his accounts and properties. When the verdict took effect, I was finally free from this nightmare, receiving the compensation I deserved, and, more importantly, regaining my confidence and control. At the hearing, when the court declared the company transferred to me, Ethan looked drained of life, staggering out of the courtroom. I thought we'd go our separate ways, but one night, my phone rang incessantly, a call from the building management. "Ms. Claire, we found your ex-husband climbing the wall into the building with an iron rod." I froze. How could Ethan be so reckless? Didn't he know this was illegal? "Sorry, by the time we noticed, he'd already scaled the fence," the guard said, voice tense. I locked all windows and doors, barricading the entrance with the sofa. After double-checking everything, I called 911, though the guards had already done so. Chaotic footsteps echoed in the hallway, followed by the sound of an iron rod pounding the door. Ethan screamed like a madman. "Claire, you vicious woman! Give me back my company, or I'll make you pay!" His hate-filled roars and the banging shook dust from the walls. I pressed against the door, sweat soaking my back, heart pounding. 10 minutes later, police sirens grew louder. Shouts and Ethan's screams filled the air as he was subdued. Trembling, I opened the door to see Ethan pinned to the ground by police, his suit covered in mud, hair wild, eyes burning with hatred. "Claire, you scum! I'll never forgive you!" At the station, I learned the shocking truth. After his company collapsed, Ethan turned to Sophia to rekindle their romance, only to catch her kissing a wealthy businessman in a hotel. Enraged, he pushed her off an overpass in a fit of madness, then came for me, intending for us both to die. 3 months later, at my first prison visit, I sat across from Ethan behind a glass partition. I thought he'd show remorse, but his first words were a venomous curse. "Why do you get to live happily? You and that wretch Sophia should burn in hell." I looked at his twisted face, my voice calm. "You can't blame anyone. These were your choices." I stood and left, his desperate screams and banging on the bars echoing behind me. Charged with attempted murder and premeditated assault, Ethan would spend his life behind bars. Stepping out of the prison, I felt lighter than ever, as if the whole world had been lifted off my shoulders. The sky that day seemed clearer than ever. For a fresh start, I sold all my assets, leaving behind the lingering memories in this city. I booked a flight to a distant country, ready to embrace the sunrise of a new day, leaving all the darkness, pain, and hurt forever behind me.